Hello, everybody. I'm Ed Parcaut, your host of Helping the Brave. Let's bring in our guest today, John Hillen. John, thanks for coming on the show today.
Yeah, my pleasure, Ed.
You say that now. We'll see how it is in 30 minutes or so. All right. What service are you in and why?
Army. My family is Army back to the Civil War,
Wow.
and my father in particular had a very full career, 20 years, Vietnam veteran, 2 tours in Vietnam, shot very badly on his second tour, infantry officer, Green Beret, and so I went in during the Reagan buildup. They doubled the size of the armed forces during the Reagan buildup, so
I didn't
I
know
went
that.
to the Army, became a cavalry officer.
Yeah, my son went in and he was airborne and then then he was first station was Alaska. And then he was sent, his next duty station was Washington State. This is a long way to get to what you just said. And then he said, I don't want to be airborne anymore. And they put him in the cavalry division. And then guess
Yeah.
what they just did? They just closed that up.
Yeah. Yeah, I went the opposite way. I was Cav my first tour, and then I'd been jump qualified, got refreshed, and ended up being in a special operations unit as a civil affairs officer on jump status for the next 7 years. Good fun.
Yeah, he had fun, but until he hit a tree, and then he's like, enough is enough.
Yeah, you don't like trees.
Wind blew in, took them all into the trees. All right. So how your whole family was in? You said the Army. I mean,
Yeah, we go back a couple of generations, so it's just kind of the family business. In many ways. And I got my own bit of service. I was quite literally on the Iron Curtain the night the wall came down in 1989. So I was in Germany and patrolling the border between East and West Germany when the wall came down that night.
so were you
And
right there where the
I
wall
was
was
right
coming?
there. Yeah. And I
That's going to
wrote
be
a,
surreal because most people don't understand that whole thing of how Reagan did what he did to get him to drop that wall. And but you
yeah,
being
it's an extraordinary story. I mean, when he came in and became president, we had multiple generations of presidents, Democrat and Republican, who just said, the Soviet Union is something we got to learn to live with. And Reagan came in and somebody asked him about his strategy because he wanted to put pressure on the Soviet Union. He said, my strategy is simple. We win, they lose. And he just wouldn't accept it as a legitimate political system. So he put a ton of pressure on economic, military, political, human rights, everything. And it led to their eventual collapse. He knew underneath that system it was pretty brittle. And sure enough, I was there when it all came apart. And the happiest people in the world were the East Germans and the Czechs that I saw pouring across the border, and so happy to, that they could, see what freedom looked like that they had been denied for 50 years.
did you watch the Reagan movie?
I did. Yeah. I thought it was pretty good. I mean, it's very,
Loose.
adulation, right? It's not very critical, but for me as a Reagan fan, I loved it, and it brought back a lot of memories of just living in that era.
What I watched about it was the fact of how before he was even governor of California, he knew how to get rid of Russia. Right.
Yeah.
He had ideas on how to go after them and do certain things. And and you watch him, it's the story, and you're like, wow, this guy. And then he gets in as president, and he does exactly what he's been working on. But that's unusual. I don't want to say unusual, but we don't see that same thing in the past. I mean, in the future. I mean, right now, except for, and I don't want to get political, but Trump was knocked out of the White House, and then he was so bitter for 4 years and got back in, and he has a plan that it's going forward, almost like Reagan had a plan.
Yeah, Reagan had really well-formed political philosophy. I got a friend who wrote a book called Reagan in His Own Hand that goes back and looks at all his old speeches from the 50s. He was like a television host that gave talks, and he wrote it all out himself. And he got a reputation from critics as being just another dumb actor, but he had actually a really well-formed political philosophy, and one of them was just always be on the side of freedom. And so when he saw the Soviet Union, he saw a complete lack of freedom, and he went after it.
Yeah. I mean, if you watch some of his campaign jokes, I mean, it's just hilarious. He was so funny. I had no, I'm not that younger than you, but I just missed that, by a few years. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great tour. And then, I was sent down to Desert Storm with a lot of other people from Germany, and ended up being in the middle of the biggest, tank battle since World War II. I was 25 yards away from H.R. McMaster, who went on to become Trump's national security advisor and a 3-star general. And we fought the only, real tank to tank battle where the Iraqis fought back in a kind of organized way in the middle of Desert Storm. So packed a lot of action into that first tour.
What was Battle of 73 East?
So the 7-3 Easting is just a line on a map.
Yeah.
And, you're in the middle of the deserts featureless. So what do you name a battle after? So it got named after the line, the longitudinal line on the map where we were, 73 degrees east of the Greenwich Mean Line. And we went into Iraq a day ahead of Desert Storm starting to get a head start on all the other forces to go find the Republican Guard. And we found them. And they were pretty much untouched by the air war. They were dug in and ready to fight, and they fought back. And we ended up sort of blowing through them. We ended up destroying a brigade of the Republican Guard in about 28, 29 minutes. Ended up being a very much studied, small unit engagement still taught at West Point and other places.
Well, it was just the tank battle you were talking about, or is this something totally different?
Yeah, this is the tank battle. It was all tanks and Bradley fighting vehicles, gun tube to gun tube. There was a kind of dust storm blowing, so there was no aircraft involvement. And there's a bunch of YouTube videos about it and a lot of other things. Much studied battle, and ended up, I don't know if there will be other ones in the future, but it ended up being really the last great tank battle of the 20th century.
Did you write a book about it all?
I did. A lot of people have written books about it. H.R. McMaster wrote a book about it.